Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. A bit of a story time before we go into an objectively worse story. So in the early 2010s, when many people call this the, by the way, I'm not going off of a script, so if I stumble my words and I repeat things I shouldn't, that's why. I'm not very good at talking, so I've been drinking a little bit. It was just to make this a little more entertaining. No, I'm not doing the whole, like, whoa, this media is so bad, I need a bigger bottle, like, you know, that standard angry video game nerd clone joke. No, I'm just doing this because I'm bored. I'm drinking because I'm bored. No, I'm doing this to look back on stuff. But anyway, in the early 2010s, many people refer to it as the classic era of creepypasta, even though creepypasta has been a thing ever since the internet has been a thing. And there's multiple creepypastas that came before the 2010s. The very first version of Jeff the Killer came in 2009. Slender Man came in 2009. One of the earliest creepypastas that many people can recall is like Ted the Caver. I think that's like 2002, I think? I could be wrong on that. But anyway, there's a reason why a lot of people look at the early 2010s as the classic era of creepypasta. That was a point in time when it was starting to get like more popular. For better or worse, there was definitely a lot of people who were, I'm sure you've heard the joke of like, the kid that was high on Monster Energy drink, slapping together bad horror stories based on video games and cartoons. And did you know, I was one of them. I was not only listening to creepypastas, I thought I could make my own, and it would be just as beloved as all those other big famous creepypastas. Needless to say, that's definitely not the case. I'm doing this because I have stumbled upon, quite possibly, my very first creepypasta, or at least the earliest that was posted online. I just randomly looked up Super Mario Bros. Slender as a joke, and got reminded, oh shit, I made this. This is a thing that I made. Oh no. So we're gonna go through and read this creepypasta that I know I slapped together in just one night. With no second thought, and thought it was like, oh, it's gonna be the best thing ever. People are gonna love this more than No End House. I guarantee it. Now, I like to definitely think that, you know, my craft as a creator has improved at least marginally since then. So keep in mind, this is not really a reflective of my current quality. Hey, I'm not here reading this for, like, to be like, well, look at how great the story is. Just to look back on how, like, yeah, my fucking writing skills were at the time. Anyway, I wasted enough time, let's get started. This is Super Mario Bros. 8 Pages Edition. I even put in my name at the time on it. Gothicslenderman. Man, that takes me back. This is on the Some Ordinary Gamers fandom wiki. This is back when Mutahara used to do creepypasta related content. Before he started doing, like, I don't know. But what does he do now? He does other things. He doesn't do that horror stuff anymore. I love how this starts immediately. Look at this. OMG, Slender for the PC is so good, Mario fanboys can suck it! I don't know why this has to do with Mario. Slender and Mario are two completely different things. But hey, nothing can beat the original Slender, as the story entails. That's my life nearly every day. I can't stand it. Who cares? It's just a game where you have to collect notes and... Oh! It was being sarcastic! Okay. I understand now, and run from the Slender Man character. But the character itself does interest me. He is a creepypasta / internet meme / video game character, and even more. He became popular over these past few years. I never was a fan of creepypasta or anything horror related. My best friend Austin always said, horror games and creepypastas are for... Whoa, buddy, calm down there. I don't think I actually wrote the word. I think I censored it, but yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. That's not good. Keep in mind, edgy teenager who didn't know any better. He's kind of a stereotypical dude. You know, maybe that's the reason I typed that, to be like, oh, this is the stereotypical douchebag. He uses the F slur. But that's not why I don't like it. My name is Richard Samuels, and I think Slender is overrated. There! I said it! I was on the internet after hearing even more about the Slender Man guy. I saw something interesting. Play NES games for free. Nintendo8.com was a website where almost every NES game was easily playable for free without any download. This is actually true. Way back when, in like the late 2000s, there was a website. Not official by all means. It was called Nintendo8.com. where it just cataloged like God knows how many NES games that you could just play in your browser. Borderline like piracy, but little kid me didn't care. It was like, well, I can play Super Mario Bros. On my keyboard. That's all I cared about. I don't think that website even exists anymore. Heck, I don't even know if it was really safe. So I don't recommend people going to the like website if it even is still a thing. Because if it isn't, then it might even be like even more virus infested now. I don't know. Don't take the risk. Never played the original Mario, so I figured I'd give it a try. Yeah, this is kind of random, a little epic random XD. Kinda awkward. But hey, I would do anything just for Slender fanboys to shut their mouths. They're almost as bad as Black Ops fanboys, but the fuck. I liked Black Ops. I liked Black Ops. What did I have to do against Black Ops fans or Call of Duty fans at the time? Was I just trying to like write the most stereotypical angry douchebag character I can think of? I'm thinking that's what's happening. I'm starting to realize that maybe I'm writing this story in the perspective of just an angry, judgmental prick. Again, I was putting some thought into it. I think at the time, even back then in like 2013, people were starting to recognize like all the cliches of like video game creepypastas. And I wanted to be like, I wanted to avoid all of those. I want to do something different, and thus people will like it. So I thought, instead of going to like a retro game store and they just gave me a free copy of Mario 64 because it kept getting returned or some shit like that, it's like, oh, I went to this bootleg website. Or instead of just being a guy filled with curiosity and nostalgia, I just wrote it as a stereotypical douchebag. So I'll give myself props for trying something different, but different isn't always good. Anyway, I went down this incredibly long list of NES games and finally found it, Super Mario Bros. In blue link text. I clicked it and scrolled the screen down to get a better view of the game. All I had to do was use the directional buttons as an NES controller's D-pad, press Z as A and X as B, and the game started. Look at that. We're in the game. We are in the game. Ooh! We have a fake screenshot I most likely slapped together in MS Paint. Ooh! Gray sky. Slender Man trying to be in the style of the NES game. I guess maybe I thought if I had like a visual representation that people would like it more too. You know, like Ben Drowned, but this was nowhere near in the level of Ben Drowned. I pressed enter as start to start the game. Thank you for that. I wasn't sure what enter would mean in this case. Thank you for clarifying in the parentheses. I was the 8-bit looking Mario running around, collecting coins, jumping on Goombas, and shooting fireballs. Everything was exactly the same as the original. Not that I would know, because apparently in the story I also said I never played Super Mario Bros. Before, so how in God's name would I even know that? I got to 1-4, Bowser's first castle out of 8. I jumped over the spinning fire things and his very slow fireballs, and there he was, just jumping around and shooting fireballs like a goof. That part wasn't there. I added that for flair. I jumped over him and grabbed the axe-looking object on account of the fact that it was an axe. Bowser had his cartoonish death I kept seeing on YouTube. Ow, I was thinking, oh god, I'm gonna have to see Toad. I've heard he's a dick in this game. Thank you, Mario, but our princess is in another castle. Now, I gotta explain this. There's a reason why I said this. In the very, mid-2000s of YouTube, everyone would make, very angry videos being like, oh, Toad is such a dick. Well, he always sent you to another castle. Well, I'm sure it's it was all done as a joke. Little kid me didn't understand this. Everyone saying, oh, we all hated the Duck Hunt dog because he'd laugh at us. But it was all just exaggerating for the sake of it. Little kid me and teenager me didn't understand this. I remember Screw Attack back then, and it's a shame to think about Screw Attack, especially since Stuttering Craig has gone down that alt-right, anti-woke grifter pipeline, right? But back then, I think he's the one who even made the joke of oh, the sprite looks like he's giving you the bird. And it kind of does. I always think of that whenever I see Toad's NES sprite. It really does look like he's flipping you off. Well, I can't say it's annoying, because this is my first time playing the game, but instead of Toad, I saw a light brown vertical rectangle. Now, for some reason, I was in control of Mario, so I decided to touch whatever it was, and when I did, the screen went black. White 8-bit text came on screen. 1 out of 8 pages collected. Oh, that was a page? What, so this is a hacked Mario game? I knew there was something wrong with this site. A Slender Mario? Oh, how original. Ugh, but I digress. Maybe this won't be so bad. I got to World 2-1 and noticed the sky was gray. Everything was normal though. Then after jumped on a few blocks, there he was. Nice grammar there. I knew it. The Slender Man. No, not a hyper-realistic Slender Man. An 8-bit Slender Man on the same row of blocks as Mario. I bet I brought up hyper-realistic as meant to be like, well, this is a jab at Sonic.exe saying hyper-realistic. I'm like, bro, you got no room to talk with this level of writing. And this is coming from you in the future, you idiot. Anyway, I turned around, but when he did, Mario shrunk down as if damaged, so I decided to get Mario out of there while I still could. After Slender Man got off screen, the sky went back to blue. I went to 2-4, beat Bowser, and got the second note. So, I do kind of like the, gameplay idea I presented here. The idea of, Slender Man is always following Mario, and if you turn to the left, you'll take damage, because in Super Mario Bros., you can't go back. Once you go right, what's left doesn't exist anymore. So I thought, you wouldn't turn left too often in Super Mario Bros., but just enough that, if there was something that would, impede you from turning left, giving you damage, there was a neat idea. I'll give myself credit. That's a neat idea. Too bad the story is it's gonna get worse from here, I guarantee you. I'm starting to remember some stuff. Let's get to the next part. Now in World 3-1, I was running around and Luigi showed up following Mario. I thought Luigi couldn't be in the same screen as Mario. He is the second player in this game. I decided to ignore him and beat the level. No thanks to Mr. Anxious Pants. Jesus. At first I get mad at Slender fans and Black Ops fans, and now Luigi. What did Luigi do to me? I grabbed the pole and Mario walked in the castle. After Mario left though, Luigi tried to follow, but the back of his neck was grabbed by Slender Man. I went to 3-2 and heard the damage noise, and after a few seconds, the usual death music, then the game over music. I was still playing though. That must have been Luigi dying. I got to 3-4 and got the third note. I saw Luigi looking at Mario from the right side of the room. The green parts of his sprite were missing. No, turned black. Then I got to 4-1, and after I got... Okay, we're just not going to acknowledge that. We're just going to say, oh yeah, here's Luigi, and his green is now black. He's entering a different kind of scene. It's not phase, Mom. Shut up. We'll just leave it at that. We're not even going to acknowledge that. Just go to the next level, alright? Luigi's being a little weird. Whatever, move on. And then I got to 4-1, and after I got halfway through the level, the black Luigi started chasing Mario. Was he excited to see his brother again? Well, I guess not, because when he touched Mario, the hero took damage. Whoa! I tried to outrun the crazy bastard. That's not me adding a joke. I legitimately wrote that. I tried to outrun the crazy bastard. That feels like something I'd add to, a script for the sake of a joke. This continued until level 4-4. I got in the room where Bowser was supposed to be, but he was missing. Then I grabbed the axe and Luigi ended up falling into the lava. Then the Slender Man showed up on the other side of the broken bridge, so I turned around, grabbed the fourth note before he could kill me. I was prepared for the worst when I got to level 5-1, but everything was normal, except I saw the Slender Man appearing and disappearing on and off the screen. Every time he showed up, all the minor enemies were killed off. And if I was looking at him, I'd take damage. Oh. Things only got stranger on level 5-2. The question marks on the blocks turned into X's and O's, or what people call the sign of Slender Man. Ah yes, the operator symbol. I could have just called it that. People know what that is, even back then. The blocks wouldn't give me anything except a mushroom every now and then. So there was no consequence, it was just a visual flare. In 5-3, there would be no enemies. I got the fifth note, but Bowser was still missing. In 6-1, the sky was gray again, and all the other changes were still there from World 5. The music, however, was different. Not slowed, not reversed, not even Lavender Town. Hey guys, if I acknowledge and say I'm not doing a cliche, that's just as good as subverting it, right? But except a whole new song. It sounded like a piano playing a slow... You know, it's very funny that, you say you're not doing all these cliches, but then you do a different one anyway. I didn't do these other cliches, but the creepy piano music, I absolutely did. It sounded like a piano playing a slow but spine-shivering song. Oh, I'm sorry, shivery song. But it was also very calming as well. Every time I beat a level after, there was a voice. A young teenage girl's voice saying, "He's here." She sounded like that emo bitch from school who went missing a few weeks ago. Austin never left her alone, and neither did I. Why? Because she was a goth, and people who don't dress like stereotypical douchebags, I mean normal people, deserve it. Real subtle there. Very subtle, commentary. Needless to say, at this point in time, I was still like a baby bat, as some people would call it. So I was the kind of person who's like kind of pretentious, being like, oh, everyone who's not me is a stereotypical douchebag. And don't get me wrong, there were stereotypical douchebags, but they weren't as common as I initially thought. It was just me being a judgmental prick and not realizing it. So I decided to vent about them in this story, I guess. Anyway, let's get back to the story. She was never social. Like she couldn't make any friends. Her name was Montana. Who am I kidding? Even I hate who I am. Okay, that came out of nowhere. Okay, Jesus. I wanted to be like her. I was always interested in gothic interest, including creepypasta, because creepypasta is very synonymous with the gothic subculture. Like I said, baby bat, let's move on. But I'm afraid I will lose all my friends just because of it. Face it, in this world, no one can be themselves anymore. There's either guys who wear their pants down to their knees and call every other guy who doesn't dress like them an F-slur, or girls with fake tans and bleach blonde hair who think it's cool to be slutty. Jesus, I was real judgmental back then. I was a real fucking judgmental prick. That's me and Austin and 95% of America. Am I trying to write the gothic subculture as like an oppressed group? Is that what I was trying to do here? I'm glad the story never took off, because, oh my god. I'm sorry for everything atrocious here. I didn't realize it was this bad. I was like, here's the thing. There are people who are mistreated because of how they express themselves, but saying the gothic subculture is like an oppressed group is like saying gamers are an oppressed group. That's dumb. Montana was a part of the 5% who actually were themselves. I don't like who I am, but I don't have a choice. By now, I beat World 6, and I'm starting 7-1. Slenderman wouldn't get away from me, so I ignored all of the power-ups and just ran. Eventually, I got to level 8-1. So I just decided to skip any storytelling in World 7. World 7's a bitch anyway. This guy was now TV Fuzz, and all the blocks were pitch black and the enemies were turned into X and an O. Well, at least they're back. When I jumped on them, I heard something other than that funny little cartoonish noise, but a piece of paper ripping. Slender Man was always to the left of the screen, so I just had to keep moving right. Even if I just tap left, I die. Level 8-2 came, and the same thing. I'm sorry, I can't. This is terrible grammar. I did not proofread this at all. I just slapped it together. Level 8-2 came, and the same thing, except the black Luigi was standing with Slender Man in a single frame. No animation, and it didn't seem like it was moving because of Mario, but because of the screen's speed. The sprites phased through all the objects. 8-3. I saw the princess with Slender Man and Luigi also in a single frame, but the color was different. The dress was black and it looked like she was crying black tears, like she was wearing mascara. She looked exactly the same as Montana after we ruined her prom night. You know, as normal people do. You know, this character's an asshole. I'm not feeling very sympathetic towards them. This is like the cast of Until Dawn. They're all fucking assholes and pricks and I feel nothing. I feel no sympathy towards them. If anything happens to them, fuck them. Who cares? You ruined a girl's prom night, but then decided to do the whole, oh, always me, I can't express myself. You're an asshole. You're a judgmental prick. I did succeed in making an unlikable character. I didn't really do anything. Like, here's the thing. There's no problem with making an unlikable character, or like a character who does bad things, or a character who's just an asshole. But I feel like you do need to at least find some way to make them endearing. Like, maybe at least give them a reason as to why they act that way. You can't just write a character as an asshole and expect everyone to be like, oh, I love and support them. If it was like a comedy, like an Invader Zim kind of thing, I can understand, because at that point the humor is how terrible they are. And at that point you're not rooting for them, you're just watching for the entertainment. But if you're like telling a serious story, and you want people to be invested and care about that character, there's no problem with making them an asshole. You need to at least like give like the audience a reason to sympathize with them instead of just saying, well, they're a dick and that's it. But apparently I didn't understand that. Anyway, she came alone as usual with 2 S's. So when we saw her, we got all, what the fuck, I can't read this. So when we saw her, we got all of over drinks. This was with 4 other people, and poured them on her. She ran out embarrassed in the same position as Peach is right now. You know, doing that iconic pose where Peach looks like she's going, ay! On her knees, looking down on the ground. I beat the level and it looked like the sprite was animated for a second when the usual he's here came. So it was Montana? I just don't know anymore. I feel like I'm losing my sanity. The final level, 8-4 finally came. It was just a gray hallway, but the gray brick wall over top of Mario had continuous dark red text on them. This is where I decided to frickin' monologue, I guess. I see a quote. Here we go! You did this to me. All I wanted was to be accepted. That's not the right word. Anyway, you did this to me. All I wanted was to be accepted for who I was. But I guess no one was allowed to do this. I'm not letting myself fall into the hands of society anymore. It's too late to turn back now. You stereotypical douchebag. Slendy understands me. Apparently in this situation, Slender Man and Montana have like a fucking thing going on. Take that for what you will. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Look, this story was made like over a decade ago. You can't expect me remember every single reason why I put like every single sentence. I just slapped this shit together anyway. As soon as the text ended, I was at the same bridge where Montana would be. But instead of Bowser, it was the Slender Man with the note behind him. So I tried to jump over him, but one of his tentacles touched Mario and he died. The game over screen came up, but I just shut down my computer. I got up from my chair and went into the forest for some... Why? Why? There was no reason. He decided, well, time to go sacrifice myself to Slender Man. And I guess that's exactly what's happening here. I understand now, Montana. I'm sorry. The real Slender Man was standing in front of me beside Montana, and a real-life version of the Black Luigi. Apparently, Luigi is now in the real world, and staring at me, shaming me for my actions. Montana walked up to me. Like I said, it's too late. Slender Man then killed me. How the fuck did I write this? How did I write this when I'm dead? Alright, so that was Super Mario Brothers 8 Pages Edition. Probably the worst thing I have ever made. Oh, but it's fucking hilarious too. It's good to look back on this just to remember where you came from. You need to be humble and like acknowledge your mistakes, no matter how embarrassing they can be or questionable in some others, right? Because you knew you grew from that. You're not that person anymore. And you can look as like a way to say like, hey, I've improved as a creator. There are times sometimes when I'm working on like art and I think, is my art getting worse? And then I look at the way my art used to be. Well, let's use an example of art made from this time period that this story was made. I can look at that and say, oh yeah, I've absolutely improved. No question. I think it's good to be humble to acknowledge that like, yeah, you made dumb stuff. But I think it's also good to look at it and be like, I've also gotten much better. Anyway. I hope you enjoyed that awful story. The link to it will be in the description. Because I need everybody to see this awful thing for shits and giggles. Anyway, have a gay old time. I'm gonna drink more for funsies.